Someone is about to have a very bad day.
Go, 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 go! Get him, Lily! Get him, Lily!
We need backup, we need backup.
He's running! Cuff him! Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! On the ground! Now get out! We got you, boy!
It's Monday, May 27th, 2019, 1:18 p.m. Pacific Time. McKenna Denson just sent me a message, asked me if I'm free to chat for a quick sec. I said, you bet. Give me a call.
McKenna Denson.
There you go. She's calling me right now, like clockwork. Yellow.
Hey, I won't keep you long. I know you're busy. So I talked to my therapist this morning, and she said it's very likely that I had a fake cancer fundraiser. And I asked her why I don't remember it. And she's not sure. She said maybe it's a DID episode.
I think you are a fucking monster, and I am going to expose you to everybody for the monster you are, and by the time I'm done, you will be lucky if your own attorney is still on your side. You are so completely full of shit, and honest to God, if you were standing here in front of me, let me tell you, I've never hit a woman in my life, but I would break your fucking nose. You are a worthless piece of shit, McKenna. You faked cancer multiple times and took money from people to help you pay for your cancer. Do you think those people are going to be less likely to donate money to people in the future that have cancer? I think so. You are literally taking money out of the pockets of children with cancer. You have accused at least 5 men of raping you. One of those poor sons of bitches sat in jail for months and faced prosecution, and thank God he was found not guilty. You are a fucking monster. I can't wait to see you go down in a ball of flames. Your book will never happen. Your movie will never happen. Your lawsuit against Joseph Bishop, FYI, newsflash for you, you piece of shit. I've been cooperating with David Jordan. I've recorded every single conversation you and I have had for weeks, and I'm gonna burn you at the fucking stake. You hear me? You're done, McKenna. Done. Somebody said to me, oh my God, what are you gonna do if she commits suicide? Big fucking deal. One less horrible monster on the face of the earth. Do what you gotta do, McKenna, but I'm gonna burn you to the fucking ground. Got anything to say about that? Go ahead.
No.
By the way, this call's being recorded as well, and this will probably go on YouTube. You got anything to say, you fucking monster?
I have nothing to say, Mike. I'm sorry. You feel that way.
Oh, it's not that I feel that way. Rock solid evidence proves that I'm right. The police came to the same conclusion. You are a fucking monster. You swallowed razor blades while you were pregnant, 12 weeks pregnant, just in an effort to get money out of P.F. Chang's. You drank fucking Drano in an effort to get sympathy. You torched your own car. You are a lying, pathological piece of shit, in my opinion. I want nothing to do with you, ever. And let me tell you something. You know where I live. Show up at my house and you get a fucking bullet between your eyes. I will assume that if you show up at my house, you are here to cause trouble. Nobody in their right mind. What, McKenna? Go ahead. Give me your excuses. Go ahead. Let me hear it. You're not going to con your way out of this one, McKenna. Go ahead.
I have nothing to say.
State of Utah versus Michael Allen Norton. Michael Norton appeals his convictions for 2 counts of violating the Bail Bond Recovery Act, Utah Code, 1 count of assault, Utah Code 765102, and 2 counts of unlawful detention in violation of Utah Code 76-5304. Defendant contends, and then he makes his contentions. Background: on March 10, 2000, defendant as agent of 24-hour bail bonds posted a $50,000 bond for Deloy Lindley, resulting in Lindley's release from jail. Lindley signed a contract pledging as collateral his truck, a stock trailer, and a snowmobile. Lindley agreed to pay defendant $5,000 within 2 weeks. While Lindley was unable to pay within 2 weeks, And so he called Mr. Norton and asked him to sell off one of the pieces of collateral, which is his right under the contract to do. However, Mr. Norton did not like this solution, which by contract he was required to sell one of the pieces of collateral, which he did not. Rather, he shows up at Mr. Lindley's house, handcuffs him, and hauls him down to jail. 2 days later, Utah court, who had not revoked the bail of Mr. Lindley, released Mr. Lindley. Upon hearing this, Mr. Norton decides to take the law into his hands again. And I am reading. On April 16th, defendant and a co-worker returned to Lindley's residence, handcuffed him, and took custody of him after spraying him with pepper spray and tackling him when he attempted to flee. Lindley testified that he was punched, kicked, and hit with a rock. Lindley also testified the defendant told him he was going to kill him. I think I've heard that threat out of Mr. Norton before. Oh yeah, it was Miss McKenna he threatened to shoot. Law enforcement officers intervened and took Lindley to the hospital because of the effects of the pepper spray and the complaints of being beaten by defendant and his co-worker. Okay. Now, you may not appreciate the level of rage that must have possessed Mr. Norton, who had plenty of collateral. He had a truck, a trailer, a snowmobile to secure $5,000. This was collateral well over the $5,000 he paid for the bond to release Mr. Lindley. Mr. Lindley, not able to find the $5,000 in cash, called Mr. Norton, as the contract for bail states, and told him, please liquidate one of the pieces of collateral in payment for this $5,000. This is normally what you need to do as a bail bondsman. You must first go against the collateral before you do any other court action, such as requesting the court revoke the bail. That would have been the proper method for Mr. Norton to handle this, to liquidate all the collateral if he needed to and receive his $5,000. But he did not. Instead, he decided to be Dog the Bounty Hunter and go in and commit outrageous violence against this seeming unsuspecting person. So again, it begs the question, who is the perpetrator and who is the victim? Or whose crime is worse than another based on the hierarchy of safety of others? Well, I would say, in my humble opinion, as an attorney, rageful, assaultive, aggressive, violent behavior is far more culpable than petty con games played by 25% of the U.S. population have engaged in this type of petty con games against large insurance companies, against large companies, and that is what McKenna did. As far as the rapes, I don't have enough information on whether she falsely accused these men of rape or perhaps they triggered her as being they targeted her, number one, like Mr. Bishop did in the MTC, and then triggered her into having sex, which she was unable to withstand due to her vulnerability and damage that had been done through a lifelong child abuse and violence done against her by her father and then a series of men, including this Mr. King. Now, if you ask me, I smell a rat in Mr. King, a rat in Mormon leaks, who disclosed Miss Denson's story before they were authorized. I think that was a double cross also. I have suspected Mormon leaks to be the gatekeeper for the Mormon hierarchy engaged in this CIA, NSA, sexual assaultive shenanigans they play against women in their MK Ultra programs, which are well documented. Just look up MK Ultra on Wikipedia. It's well documented. Look up Project Monarch on Wikipedia. Well documented. University of Utah, according to the Mountain Prison Correctional Facility, all involved in this MK Ultra programming. Watch Clockwork Orange. I had colleagues involved in these electroshock treatments against prisoners, against children, and it was to modify their behaviors like they were little lab rats, and it was done without full consent. And of course, Miss Denson has been just abysmally abused by a series of men in her life, including Mr. Bishop of the MTC, who was promoted and applauded and obviously endorsed by the Mormon hierarchy, because after they found out about Mr. Bishop's sexual dungeon underneath the Mormon missionary office building, they promoted him further. They must have enjoyed his shenanigans thoroughly and endorsed them. I think this whole setup of Miss Denson makes her case even stronger, because this can be totally unraveled with the right research and all done on the internet. So it's not up to me to do it. I'm sure Miss Denson's new attorneys will be able to find a festival of information in which to implicate all these actors, and they're called lifetime actors. This is called a LARP, a live action role play. It is perfected by Booz Allen and Bain Capital in their training manual on how to disrupt and destroy citizens, in which they have targeted as being opposed to their nefarious conduct. So look it up. It's not for me to do your research.
Someone is about to have a very bad day.
Go, 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 go! Somebody just ran him back! Get him, Leland! Get him, Leland!
We need backup, we need backup.
He's running! Cuff him! Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! On the ground! Now get out! We got you, boy!
Dog the Bounty Hunter. New season premieres Wednesday at 10 on A&E.